Yeah, and we're live. Hi all, welcome to the live stream today. We're just going to do a quick webinar to mark International Environmental Day. We have two great panelists with us this evening. My name is TJ Hogan. I'm a member of Right to Change Committee and Party, and I'm hosting the conversation tonight. If you have any questions, please get them in on Facebook and we get them read out during the conversation. So I'm going to leave the panelists introduce themselves. Ladies, Lorna, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, TJ. So my name is Councillor Lorna Bogue. I'm the leader of An Ráise Glas Green Left, and that's an eco-socialist party. So I sit as a councillor in Cork City South East Ward, but I'm also the An Ráise Glas candidate for the South constituency in Europe, which is happening next year. So just getting ready for that. Thanks, TJ.
Oh, bother, fantastic. Sophie?
Thanks, TJ. Hello, everybody. My name is Sophie Nicoullaud. I'm a Right to Change councillor in Dublin for the constituency of Ballyfermot-Drimnagh, and I was elected in local elections in 2019.
Fantastic. I suppose we just get into a couple of questions and like prepared off the bat, and if there's any questions coming in, then we'll see how the conversation goes. So I suppose the first one is just maybe to look at the policy a small bit. So the first question I have for both of you is, what's the motivation behind the policy and how does it differ from other policies?
Okay, Lorna, go ahead.
Well, Sophie, I think you did a lot more work on this policy now than I did, but I suppose, you know, it's a red-green policy. I'm very glad to see that there's a lot more kind of focus on people in terms of climate action, because I suppose there's two different approaches to climate action that we could be taking. One is basically an approach of eco-austerity, so where people are kind of given the stick instead of the carrot in terms of changing what we do and how we run things in order to fit in with the decarbonisation that is required for stopping climate crisis from happening. And I suppose we're all looking at the weather at the moment and saying, yes, it's lovely and sunny, but if it's kind of like this all the time in the summers, that's not going to be very good for people. So I suppose there's two approaches that can be taken, which is, again, either you try and punish people to stop them from doing the wrong thing, or you try and encourage people to, I suppose, change how they do things. And this red-green policy, to me anyway, seems very much to be taking that approach. So I'm happy to see it. But Sophie, you definitely did a lot more work on it than me now.
Yeah, thanks, Lorna. Yeah, so what motivated me is, for instance, the fact that the policy doesn't belong to any special political parties or any organization. We're all from different parties and organization and backgrounds. So there was a very good motivation, and also the constant flow of greenwashing that we all hear, that is just, you know, I had to do something, and at this stage, motivation is really, to me, it's not a choice. It's my duty to do it, to participate. And this greenwashing that thinks that that puts the responsibility on us all individuals to being the reason, and that's not on. And so the greenwashing that makes us think that a market-based solution can be found, that the solution can be found under the capitalist system we're working on right now. That's why I decided all those lies, basically, that really motivated me. And while doing it, I found really interesting and really encouraging to find that there's a lot of research done in Ireland by Irish researchers. And so that's very encouraging. That gives us all the tools and the reasons why the capitalist system we're under will not be the solution to the problem. So it's very encouraging, the likes as well of Irish Rail having really good documents. And why it's different, that I think goes, it shows the whole approach of how everything is intertwined, that climate breakdown and social injustice are the consequences of the capitalist system, and in parallel that the two issues cannot be separated. Otherwise we have greenwashing. So I think that's why it's different, that you know, the cost of living, social injustice, climate breakdown are all put on into one document, because it's so linked.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I suppose like the policy is fantastic, and it's up online for anyone to read. In fact, it actually would be part of the link, if anyone would like to look over the PDF of it. And like for everyone, I suppose anyone that's watching on Facebook that's probably not part of the Greens or a part of a social party or whatever, what does this policy do for ordinary people?
Well, I suppose it seems to me that you know, Sophie has kind of given good examples there. So she gave the example of Irish Rail and what they're doing with regards to climate. So I suppose Irish Rail is a company that I suppose has a public kind of end of things that they're doing, and the workers there actually have brought it along a process of decarbonisation that has gone a lot faster than anything that the government has actually told them to do. And that is because the workers themselves have decided that they need to actually do this, you know. So I mean, like, in terms of what this does for people in general, like it's more that you know, having access to cheap renewable electricity, having access to cheap public transport, like having access to all of these things that people need in their everyday lives. You know, you don't actually need to be thinking about the climate to know that these are good things to have. And I suppose that's why the red-green approach is good, because it's something that doesn't actually require people to be, you know, individually, again, doing the right thing and sort of making themselves miserable in the process of doing that. It's actually setting up the framework conditions where doing the right thing is easy, because it's the cheaper and better option that has been provided already by a state that has put a bit of planning and thought into it, you know. So I think that's my reading of it anyway. Sophie, you might have more to say on what other things are in there for workers and carers.
Yeah, so what's for the ordinary people is basically an improvement in our quality of life, and whether it's at work, because in order to have environmental justice, we have to have workers' rights covered, and it can create a lot of jobs, and not only that, but would create meaningful jobs, and also it puts the people at the core of the solution, and with the likes, for instance, of asking for more involvement of the communities. For example, if we look at energy, and we know that solutions to global problems are found at the local level, and that's where people they come into play, is they need to be consulted. We need to own the end, for instance, owning a windmill, owning windmill power plants, and that is not owned by a private company but directly from the community. And that's what the type of things we have to gain, for instance, when it comes to farming. That is not decided in an office in Dublin City. that's decided on the ground with the farmers, the open dialogue with the workers, with the trade unions, with everybody involved. So it's putting the people at the core of the solution.
Yeah, thanks, Sophie. And just, I suppose, maybe going back to Lorna, like what type of climate action should we prioritize as individuals, Lorna, or part of this Greenway policy going forward?
Well, I suppose the thing that we need to prioritize as individuals is actually to change politics, you know, because the politics that we have is not working. So there was an EPA report that came out just last week, and basically what it was saying was that of all of the promises that the government has made about reaching 51% carbon emissions reductions by 2030, that the things that they actually had in place to do this would only reach 29%, you know. So if you're trying to get something reduced by 51% and you can only get it reduced by 29%, you kind of have to start asking questions about, well, does the system that we have actually help us to change things? Because again, it's very difficult for an individual person to try and do things about climate crisis because it's just one person, you know, doing it. And there's certainly arguments about, well, yes, if everyone did things at the same time, then surely that would actually result in change. But the reality is that when people are going about their everyday lives, a lot of the things that they encounter are things that are put there either by the capitalist system, the economy, or the state. And if the state is not helping you to do something, then you're going to find it very difficult as an individual to actually do it, you know, because like an individual customer could pick between different renewable energy companies, for example. But I mean, if those renewable energy resources are not there in the first place, how can you pick what electricity supply you're using? You know, like that's a kind of big mega infrastructure project that the state has to plan. So I suppose coming back to the question, what individually can we do? Well, it's things like joining a trade union in your workplace. Like that's probably one of the most important climate actions that you can take, you know, even though it doesn't seem like it. And that's not what people are normally told. Normally people are told, well, make sure to put different things in the right bins and we'll all get there, you know. Like it's actually about joining a trade union. It's about being politically active. It's about discussing political issues and discussing climate as a political issue with workers and carers and your family and your friends and the people around you in your workplaces, homes and communities. So it's really as simple as that, because individually we can't really stop climate crisis, and you would get burnt out trying to do it, and you would make yourself very miserable trying to do it. But I think the thing is actually for us to change the political system so that things are organized and distributed in such a way that everyone actually gets the things that they need in a decarbonized manner. And that's actually quite exciting because, you know, as a councillor myself, I mean, you know, there's various sort of instances in my everyday life at work where I'm just like, I just wish that the system worked. Like, I just wish that people could have access to the very normal things that they need, and they can't even have that, you know. So like that's what I think the important thing is. It's actually to politicize climate and politicize it as an issue for workers and carers, like that we're the class actually who can do something about this, nobody else.
Yeah. And I don't think you're wrong. And I think that there is a generation there. We've seen that with the marches on climate change, with people taking off primary school and secondary school, getting on the streets. And I think being active and looking that it's not about punishing those that leave under telly light, is actually looking at the big corporations. I think that this policy covers that very, very well. And just to go back to yourself, Sophie, in terms of like what are the concrete actions in this policy and what is it calling for?
Concrete actions is, for instance, when we're looking at housing and the retrofit programs, that it's absolutely failing, and just because the political will is not there. So we have the retrofitting system. I don't know what it's like in Cork, but in Dublin, a local authority tenant would wait more than 10 years to get the wrap up, and just the wrap up around the house. So that needs to be a priority, and our leaders need to stop telling us that, oh, the problem is because we can't find the staff and so on. That's been created by the governments that decades ago didn't think or didn't bother of doing any forward thinking and putting in place the education system in order to create and to train people in the trades that are needed today. So in the consequences, we have health is being affected by mold and draft in houses, and also the cost of living again coming in there with the high cost of energy, and the people most in vulnerable position as local authority tenants and people renting from private landlords have to pay more in energy cost to heat up their homes. And another consequence is a rise in carbon emission. So that's the type. Another one, for instance, is really look at the digitalization and the problem around it. We have all those big companies, the likes of Google and Meta, in this country having huge influence on the government, and they're going for planning application for those mega data centers that are using fossil fuel in order to function. And the only reason there is this need for those mega data centers is because of surveillance capitalism, which in very simply is all the trackers, ad trackers on the websites everywhere that are taking our personal data, and those data then are sent to other companies to sell us more stuff. And that's all those data, that's the space, that's what the space is needed in order to have those, the big data centers need to be that big, just because in order to magazine our data. And that's the kind of thing we need to regulate, as just by regulating this, that we're helping to preserve our personal data, and we're helping the environment, because we all know data centers use a lot of energy. So there's two things, again, social justice and climate justice, again, are some of the priorities here.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I'm going to ask yourself, Lorna, then, in terms of, like, is the state really capable of effective climate action?
In its current form, no. Like they're just not going to. I suppose even in terms of thinking about the state as it currently is and who is in charge of it, there's a very specific kind of class who are in charge of the state. Do they have an interest in stopping climate crisis from happening? No, because they don't really care about people. They just care about making more money. And they don't even necessarily care about making more money for themselves. They care about, I suppose, using the state as a way to open up new markets for capitalism all the time, so they're always trying to come up with new ways for people to be sort of used to pay money for normal things that they need. So I mean, like an example for in Ireland particularly is just the healthcare system. I mean the healthcare system is almost entirely privatized. If you want to get healthcare in Ireland, you probably do need to go through like private health insurance or pay money in order to get seen to, even though everyone in the state you would think should have access to healthcare. And that's what we all sort of pay our taxes for, to have a healthcare system that works. And that just doesn't happen. And the reason that that doesn't happen is not that the state doesn't, you know, does this accidentally. Like it's not a naturally occurring kind of phenomenon. Like it's something that is a political thing that happens on purpose, you know. And it's the same with climate. Like the reason why the state is not going to reach its climate goals is because the industries that it is trying to I suppose use the lack of climate regulation here to assist, it's in their interest to just pollute and then just take the fines, because as long as they can continue making money on it, there's no issue to them. Like, so I think we need to sort of think very specifically about the class interests that are at play with something as, you know, to you, me and Sophie, and to the viewers here. I mean, it sort of seems obvious to us that we would want to have a climate that we can live in, you know, like as workers and carers, we would like that. That's a simple kind of basic ask, but the state has no interest in providing that. And I suppose that comes back then to my first point about how do we take climate action? Well, we politicize this, we politicize what is happening here, and we as workers and carers go ahead and do something about it. You know, so I think that, you know, is the state capable right now? No. But is it possible for the state to be capable of it? Yes, but it depends on who's in charge of the state. And I think it should be workers and carers who should be in charge of the state.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, it's not fair that the high tax at the moment is going on coal, fuel, and everyday use that people need to get to work, to heat their homes. You know, we've elderly people choosing between food and heating at the moment, you know. While there's actually energy company, ASB, Bogue, the whole lot of them are actually making profit off this crisis because they're blaming the war in Ukraine, but we know that it's they're penny pinching and making big money off that. And that needs to stop. That's not what climate action is. And I know a lot of people say that, oh, the ordinary people have to pay through the nose. This policy actually looks at it from a different angle. And just to go back to yourself, Sophie, does an economic transformation with a stopped economic growth mean more hardship for ordinary people?
No, and it's just the opposite. But the system that it's imposed on us, this capitalist system, is making sure that they put the fear into us, thinking, oh, well, there's no other ways. You know, we're here to protect you. We know better, and don't think there's any other way. We'll solve the climate, and then us will be gone in 2 years till next election, and I'll get my cozy job working, for instance, for private retirement homes. So it is all positive for the ordinary person. You know, it doesn't need, we don't need extra taxes on the workers. It's not at all what it's about. It's about nurturing the environment and ourselves, making sure that what we prioritize is what the human being needs and here and in other countries as well, because it's all intertwined. So, I mean, the system, back to the question you asked, Lorna, no, yeah, the system today and our government is incapable, because that's not how it works. And as well, the lies to think that they're governing. No, they're not governing our countries here, or France or Canada. It's the private interest that's governing our countries. And that's been well documented that more and more our leaders don't have a hold on the economy. So they want to make us believe that a change will be a drastic and terrible. No, it's just the opposite. And again, it's all in the policy, as it says. It's not, you know, it doesn't require higher prices for energy and so on. It's just the opposite. And it's again creation of meaningful jobs, public services, ownership of public services, and so on.
Yeah, and I suppose just to kind of move it on then for the conversation, like the launch is on the 7th, which is Wednesday coming. You're both going to be in attendance, I believe. Have you any? I know there's got a lot more conversation. I know it's going to dig into a lot more. I know Joan Collins and other good speakers are going to be there. That were also part of this policy. Is there anything that you'd like to add? And just to let people know that I'll be putting up a link when I reshare the live stream with the policy, first of all, and also that you have to register with Eventbrite to be in attendance. But just in relation to the launch itself, is there anything else that you would like to add, Sophie or Lorna, on that?
No, read the policy. Some parts are easier not than reading, but it's very interesting. Believe in people power and workers' power. It's still there. It's really changing. We see social movement coming in January in the local authorities. There are a lot of movements. There are a lot of researchers in Ireland that are pro transformation. It's all positive. They cannot stop us.
And Lorna?
No, I agree. Yeah, it's about workers and carers, we're the ones who need to do it. I'm excited about the launch just because obviously I'm in a different party, but it's good to work together. And I think that the stuff that we're producing now as an alternative to what currently exists is very exciting. I think it's something that people can really actually feel optimistic about, which is an unusual thing in the climate space. Normally we're kind of doom merchants, but there is something very exciting about taking power, and that's really the way that we're going to do it. Like it's about workers and carers putting themselves in a position where we're actually in power for the first time in history, so that's good.
And I suppose, Lorna, just on that note, this was across, it wasn't just one particular individual or party that led out on this. It was a very collective approach, and you're going to really see that reflected on the night. How was that for yourself involved in that? I think it strengthens it, but a lot of parties don't do that. This is something that's been totally new over the last couple of weeks and months to develop this.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Like we have our own sort of program document on similar topics coming out. Now, our piece is I suppose a more of a theoretical kind of piece. This is a policy piece. So they work quite well together, I think. Yeah, I found the process really good. It's really good to speak to other people about what it is that they want. And I suppose really all of us, regardless of what party we're in, we all have a specific viewpoint of the world, which is that a better world is possible than the one that we have. I think people are told all the time that nothing better is possible than just what we currently have. But I suppose we all, as people who engage in politics, see that actually the way things are is not working for a lot of people. It's working for a very small group of people, but it's not working for a lot of people. So I think that it's good to see new type of politics coming out of climate that is people-centered, as opposed to anything else,
Yeah, and just going back to yourself, Sophie, just very lastly, 2 questions really. What makes this policy different from others that are in existence? And the other one is that I don't think a lot of people know this, but today is, as I said at the very start, is International Environmental Day. Why is that so important to maybe to getting the message out there more and for people to recognise that we need to start focusing on climate change?
Well, yeah, today is International Environmental Day. And as Lorna says, the capitalist system is working for a small minority and getting smaller minority of people in this world. And so the extreme large majority of people on the planet will benefit from this. And I think what's different in this policy, and that it recognized this, for instance, we're asking to remove the debt of the poorer countries, and that's it's primordial in our effort to tackle climate breakdown as well. So I think that's what's different about it. It looks at the problem from a very broad angle, because climate breakdown and has no borders. So we are all part of this. But again, I just remind, it is very positive. We have a lot of benefits to gain from this.
Fantastic. And just lastly, to the both of you, have you got maybe a small word just to say to the viewers in relation to Wednesday, and also just to close out last remarks? I'll go to Lorna first.
We'll come along, there'll be a bit of crack. That's it.
Yeah,
Sophie?
and yeah, we also have Sinead Mercier, who's a well-known independent writer on the topic, and Professor John Barry at Queen's University, who's an expert, and they both speak really clearly on the problem. So it'll be very informative. And again, it's just to try to spread the message out there. They're not from any political parties or anything like that. That's the message, that we're all together trying to find a solution, because we have the solution.
Yeah, perfect. And I suppose just lastly for myself, it's been a privilege to be hosting tonight. And I want to congratulate everyone involved. I'm delighted that my own party, Right to Change, also that the work that was done behind the scenes. And I just want to say I look forward to Wednesday. Well done to both of you. And I know that you've done, a lot of people won't see it, but there's a lot being done behind the scenes, both in Cork, Dublin, and across the country. Congratulations to both, and congratulations to everyone that was involved. So I'd like to now stop this recording if I find out how to do
mention
that.
David Gibney first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to mention there as I trying to sort out the logistics of closing this down? Lorna, there's.
Oh no, just he's a great trade union activist, so it's great to have that aspect of things involved as well. So it'll be good. Again, as I say, good crack.
And
Good
as
crack.
well, the Councillor Dean Mulligans is supporting this policy. Councillor Kieran Perry also is supporting this policy. I think I might not miss anybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's the policy has been well supported across the board, and I suppose everyone's going to be there that was involved in the policy on the day. You know, you have your likes of Joan, Councillor Kieran Perry, Dean Mulligan, yourself, Lorna, Pat Dunn, and yourself, Sophie. And I know there was a couple of other people in the background doing bits and pieces, and it's been fantastic. The policy looks very, very well, I must say, as well. I've seen the physical copy, and so congratulations. And it's in Dublin. I'm just going to read it out here from the page. So it's in Dublin on the 7th of June at 7:30 in Wynn's Hotel, Lower Abbey Street, and you must book on Eventbrite. I'd leave the Eventbrite link and the link to the policy in the comments. So thanks everyone for viewing. I leave that with you. Talk to you all soon. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks a lot, TJ. Thank you.